Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today is a special kind of video because we're not that far away from the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs being back, which is a big one because it's COVID-19. It's a 24-team playoff format. It is going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy playoffs, and it's going to be so unpredictable. I don't even know if EA is going to be able to guess this thing right. But today we're going to be going through the qualifying rounds, the round robins, practically everything we're going to be going through. It might take me a long time than your regular simulation because you have to reorganize the brackets every round, so it's a little bit different every round, it's going to be a little crazy, but I think we're going to be able to handle it. And if I mess anything up, you guys can comment down in the comment section below, but I think I got everything right. So we're going to start off with the qualifying rounds, which are a best of 5 between the Edmonton Oilers and the Chicago Blackhawks, Vancouver versus Minnesota Wild, Nashville versus the Arizona Coyotes, and then you got Calgary versus the Winnipeg Jets. And all those teams will be in Edmonton. Technically not, because we can't really change the arenas, but anyways. Then in the Eastern Conference in Toronto, you got Pittsburgh versus the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Islanders versus the Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Rangers, and the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. So let's get started right on the simulation. I'm excited to get this thing started up. We're just gonna, I think what we're gonna do, I didn't mean to actually simulate like that. And Chicago looks like they will take game 1 5-1 as Kublak just went absolute crazy. We will be checking on teams when it's kind of an elimination game. Minnesota going up 1-0 against the Vancouver Canucks there. Pittsburgh Penguins beating the Montreal Canadiens, of course. We all knew that was going to happen. And the Islanders beating out the Florida Panthers as well. Oh, just to let you guys know as well, I took out a lot of the players that are not playing, like Mike Green and Travis Hamonic. Arizona, they go up 1-0 against the Nashville Predators. And Calgary versus the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg goes up 1-0. New York Rangers versus Carolina. A lot of people are choosing that, thinking that the Rangers are going to win this series. I think this is going to be a series to watch. Like, without a doubt, it's definitely going to be a series to watch between these two teams because I think they're very evenly matched, and it's going to be a fun series to watch between the Hurricanes and the Rangers because they're young, speedy teams. A lot of people are saying the Rangers will win, but I think the Rangers have a lot of hype, but not a lot of good players on the team is what I think. But anyways, let's get right back to her. Toronto versus Columbus. Toronto walks away with the first game. So all the worser teams in the Western Conference won against the higher seeded teams. But in the Eastern Conference, it was a different story. The higher seeds won their games. Will Edmonton go down 2-0? And they do. Edmonton, they're on the back ropes right now. As Kane, he is really damaging the Oilers right now, and it is not looking good. The Canadiens bounce back. They tap the series. The Islanders go up 2-0. The Nashville series is tied up. Winnipeg Calgary, that will be also a big insane series, an all Canadian matchup as they tie up. Tony DeAngelo, 5 points in 2 games. What an insane start for Tony DeAngelo as Toronto goes up by 2. And Edmonton, they fight back and they get a big victory there. They need to start fighting back, and I feel like that's definitely going to be a thing that Edmonton is going to have to kind of face, is that adversity right off the get-go. Montreal, they battle back. Well, the New York Islanders, they move on to the next round. They're the first team heading on as they swept the Florida Panthers, which I think is going to be the same thing that's going to happen. I do believe that the New York Islanders are definitely, I forgot to sim that game by accident, but I do believe the New York Islanders are definitely going to win it by a sweep without a doubt. Arizona goes up by 1. That's a big one there. Winnipeg or Calgary, they go up by 1 as they have the series lead 2-1. And the New York Rangers pull away with a victory, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have a chance to put Columbus Blue Jackets to rest. Will they be able to? 4-2 as Captain Savard gets a big one. Marner and then Devin Short and Travis Dermott all putting up big goals there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Second period, nothing in the second period. Heading into the third period, 6-3 as Kerfoot and Kapanen put it to rest as the Toronto Maple Leafs take their series, as they're now heading on to the playoffs. So that's big for them. Now, Edmonton, this is another big game and a brink of elimination here for the Edmonton Oilers, as they're going to be going up against the Chicago Blackhawks. Will they be able to tie up the series and push a game 5? First period, 2-0. Duncan Keith and Alex DeBrincat both putting up big goals. Second period, still 2-0 going into third period, and the Chicago Blackhawks upset the Edmonton Oilers and send them off. And looks like the Chicago Blackhawks, they will be moving on to the playoffs, which is just absolutely amazing. Now, do I think that will actually happen? I don't know. It really depends on how good the Blackhawks really play, and you really have to have Kane firing at all cylinders, which is what they had. They had Patrick Kane really performing to his best of his ability. Like, he was putting up points, and Kubalak just, I mean, they gotta have a lot going for them to beat the Edmonton Oilers, but they were able to beat the Edmonton Oilers here in the simulation, and they might even be right heading into the qualifying rounds. Minnesota versus Vancouver, with Minnesota having the Vancouver Canucks on the brink of elimination as well. First period, a 1-0 for the Minnesota Wild, as Kevin Fiala gets that big one there. Second period, 2-0 as Luke Kunin might be the barrier for the Vancouver Canucks, and the Minnesota Wild has also pulled off a big upset, as everyone was talking about Vancouver winning. Minnesota wins that one, as that's a tough break for the Minnesota Wild. Or a tough break for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, a lot of the Canadian teams getting eliminated, as Montreal has the Pittsburgh Penguins on the brink of elimination tonight, as Peterson, Johnson, and then Wheel and Armia. Second period, 4-4. Marino and Russ get some momentum, and Drouin and Domi puts it right to rest. And third period, it is 5-5. Crosby, Jonathan Drouin heading into overtime. Who will be the big game-winning? And Nick Suzuki gets a huge goal for the Montreal Canadiens and sends them off to the playoffs, as Carey Price absolutely, I mean their offense was stellar. Nick Suzuki with the 6 points in the qualifying rounds. I mean, what a ridiculous man right there. Nick Suzuki fucking putting up the points, man. Jesus, that's insane, dude. He was just lighting it up there for the Montreal Canadiens, which is what they want. They want that guy producing a lot of points right now, and that's what he's doing. Arizona Coyotes, Nashville Predators. It looks like all the lower seed teams are kind of winning these matchups. It's a little weird, to be honest with you. First period, 2-0 Nashville, as Matt Duchene and Colton Sissons get 2 big goals there for the Nashville Predators. Second period, 3-0, and they will be going to a Game 5. So that's going to be a competitive series between those two teams. Calgary, Winnipeg. Calgary could eliminate the Winnipeg Jets with this one game here tonight. First period, 2-0. TJ Brody and Milan Lucic get a big goal there. Second period, 3-3. Wheeler Kolp, and oh man, Wheeler laying in the goals right now, trying to keep the Winnipeg Jets alive. And third period, 4-4, heading into overtime. Who will be the overtime hero? And the Winnipeg Jets, Blake Wheeler with a hattie, as he brings his team out of the grave and gets them a big victory, tying up the series at 2 as we head over to the Carolina Hurricanes Rangers series, which is another big one. With the Rangers having Carolina on the brink of elimination. First period, 4-1. Wow, Aho, Teravainen, and Fogelslav, and all of them putting up big goals, 6-1. And the Carolina Hurricanes walk with an embarrassing win, as they just demolish the Rangers, 9-1, as we head on to the big Game 5 games. Arizona versus Nashville. Who will walk on in the next round? First period, 1-1. Colton Sissons, Clayton Keller gets a big goal there. Second period, 2-1. Nashville, Philip Forsberg. And third period, 3-2 Arizona, as Arizona will be walking over the Nashville Predators and heading on to the qualifying rounds. And last but not least, we got the Winnipeg Jets versus the Calgary Flames. Game 5, first period, 1-0 for Adam Lowry. He gets a big goal there for the Winnipeg Jets. Second period, 4-0, and it looks like the Winnipeg Jets will put the Flames to rest, as the Flames had a chance there to move on. They had it. They had the chokehold on Winnipeg, but they just let go, as Wheeler ripped it up for the Jets, as putting up 7 points. My lord, what an insane man. as Carolina versus the New York Rangers. Will this finally be it? First period 2-2. Teravainen and Williams, Kaapo Kakko and Lindgren getting big goals. Second period 3-2. Panarin gets a big one there for the New York Rangers. As third period, and Carolina, Brady Shea against his old team gets a big goal for the Carolina Hurricanes, tying the game up at 3. And Jesper Fast puts that one to rest, as the Rangers will be making it on in the next round. As we'll have Arizona, Chicago, Winnipeg, Minnesota, which is weird, New York, and Montreal, New York Islanders, and the Toronto Maple Leafs all moving on, which I gotta say is hella fucking weird. But let's get on to the qualifying rounds, the round robin matchups that we gotta organize and do kind of multiple times. So let's jump right into that. Alright, so here we are with the round robin play. Now we're going to have to boot this up once or twice, because we're going to do like a round robin where it's a single knockout in the playoff mode, so I could at least send the games easily. So I'll have to set it up twice, but that won't be such a big deal anyway. So first game in, we got the Colorado Avalanche versus the Vegas Golden Knights. That's first game in between these two teams. Now, every team has to face every team. You got to remember that. So Vegas will be facing the Colorado Avalanche to start things off, and then we'll go from there. So Vegas looks like they will be taking the big W, beating up the Colorado Avalanche, as they will take the first victory of the round robin play. Dallas Stars versus the St. Louis Blues. We're just going to simulate the whole entire game, and we'll take a look at all the goals from every period. So Jamie Benn, oh my god, I got the hiccup. So Jamie Benn started off with the goal scoring, and then had Schwartz, Thomas, and Tarasenko getting all the big goals to give St. Louis a big victory themselves. So they get a big W. Now they'll be also facing Vegas in the next game, and then what we'll do is do Colorado versus Dallas for their next game. Now Washington versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a pretty big game. That would be a fun game to watch. As 5-3, it looked like the Tampa Bay Lightning almost had the victory there. Stamkos, Dylan Dowd, and then they tied it up with Roto and Stamkos, and then Hathaway, Oshie, and Wilson all burying goals behind Vasilevsky, as Washington, they walk away with a big victory. As they're looking to place first in the top spot. I mean, that would be very, very nice for them. Boston versus the Philadelphia Flyers, another big game. So let's get simulating through this one, and the ending of it 4-1 for the Boston Bruins, as Marchand, Coyle, Bergeron, and Wagner all putting up goals, as Boston also walks away with a victory. And then we will have a game between the St. Louis Blues and the Vegas Golden Knights. Simulate that game and finish this one, and then we'll see Vegas. They walk away with 2 victories in OT, as Alex Tuch buries one. I forgot that this is like regular, but it won't really matter anyways, because it doesn't fucking matter. So a big victory there for the Vegas Golden Knights. All they got to do is now face the Dallas Stars, which will not be too hard to set up. So there you go. Now, Washington will be facing the Boston Bruins. This is also another big game, and who will be walking away with 2? And the Boston Bruins, they walk away with a victory, as Evgeny Kuznetsov had that one goal right at the ending of the period, but Marchand and Krug was enough to finish it off, as Boston walks away with a victory. So now Boston, let's take a look at the playoff tree. Boston has now faced Washington and Philly. All they have to face now is, yeah, Boston's faced Philly and Washington. They just got to face the Tampa Bay Lightning now, and that's all they got to do, because they're playing 3 games, so they just got to face the Tampa Bay Lightning, which we could easily set that up. Philly has also not faced Washington, and has not faced Tampa Bay yet, so that's also another thing we need to set up. So on the other side, Vegas Golden Knights still has to face the Dallas Stars, and the Colorado Avalanche has to face the Dallas Stars and the St. Louis Blues. So let's get that organized. So I will be right back once I get everything organized. Alrighty, so we finally figured out the rest of the game. So practically what we're hoping for is for some of the teams that have not played enough of the games yet to hopefully win. For example, like the Colorado Avalanche can hopefully win. Same with the Dallas Stars. And then I'm hoping for Tampa and Philly to win. So we'll have to see how that all goes. But if not, then we'll have to do another bracket like this right quick. And then that will be it for these games. But let's get through these real quick. Dallas versus the Vegas Golden Knights. This is the Vegas Golden Knights' last game. So will they walk away with another victory? And yes, they do. The Vegas Golden Knights, of course, they don't give me what I really want, but Tug, Nusak, and Stastny all putting up big goals, as it looks like Vegas will be taking that first spot in that divisionals. Man, Vegas is really looking to prove themselves in this playoffs, my lord. 3 in a row wins already. They're on a hot streak right now. Colorado versus the St. Louis Blues, and then of course it really doesn't matter who wins this game. The Colorado Avalanche does, so that's a big one victory there for them. And then they got to go up against the Dallas Stars in the next game, of course. So, Washington versus the Philadelphia Flyers. So, let's get into this one, baby. Washington, will they walk away with another victory? And no, the Philadelphia Flyers, they come in and smashing, man. Shit, Voracek, a Hattie from him. Holy fuck. That's too many goals to count for, man. As Philly, they just smashed through Washington, getting a big victory for themselves. Jesus Christ, that was a bad matchup, for crying out loud. Boston versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Boston Bruins. They walk away with their 3rd game in a row as well, so they practically won the division, so congrats to them. So we still need to reorganize the standings no matter what, so we can do our last 2 games, which is the Philadelphia Flyers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then the Colorado Avalanche versus the Dallas Stars, which will be kind of our deciding ones, which will be nice. But I guess we will have, no matter what, sort of a 3-way tie depending on how it goes. Now, I guess what we'll do is we'll do how many, if they have a tie, then what we'll do is we'll do, depends on who has the most wins, winning percentage, I guess, is what we'll decide it by. So we'll do single knockout, get the 4 last teams in there. I'll quickly do that, and then we'll see you guys once we're ready to sim. Alright, so we're back now. We got Colorado versus Dallas. This is the very first game, the last game of the round robin. So first, or not first period, but rest of the game, as the Dallas Stars take that one. So now there is a 3-way tie, so that will practically go off of winning percentage this past season. And then the next game we got Philly versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Simulate this game, and who will be the big victory out of this one as first, and the Philadelphia Flyers in overtime get a big victory, so we know the way that will be. But now I'm gonna go and figure out the top, I guess, the playoffs now, the official 16-team playoffs. We're gonna get all the standings ready, and I will be back in just a jiffy. Alrighty, ladies and gents, we are back, and my lord, is this ever a weird kind of looking at this format, because if you look at it, there's a lot of teams that I don't think should be in here, like the Blackhawks and the Canadiens, maybe even the Rangers, but a lot of people say that the Rangers will probably make it, and they did here in the simulation. So there's going to be some very big storylines. Of course, the first one is the Boston Bruins versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's going to be a big one. Of course, on the other side, we got Vegas versus the Winnipeg Jets, which will be an intense rematch of a round 3 matchup when that sent off the Vegas Golden Knights to their first ever Stanley Cup appearance against the Washington Capitals, who will be facing the Rangers, which they've had some back and forth matches back in the day for the playoff success and stuff like that. So that will be definitely a big matchup. Same with Tampa Bay versus the Montreal Canadiens, and same with some of the other of these other ones. They're going to be exciting to kind of sit back and watch and see who really kind of pushes the tempo and gets that big victory, right? So it's going to be a very, very insane playoffs. We're not going to be really doing any of the elimination games. We're just going to get through them, assimilate all of them, and that's really it. So Winnipeg walking away with a 4-2 victory to start things off against the Vegas Golden Knights. So they're starting on a hot topic as St. Louis Blues. They beat up the Minnesota Wild in Game 1. Same with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They beat up the Boston Bruins in Game 1. So Philly being the New York Islanders after they swept the Florida Panthers in Game 1 there. Dallas walking away with a big victory over the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Colorado Avalanche beating the Arizona Coyotes in Game 1. The Montreal Canadiens lost in their first game, and the Rangers beat up the Washington Capitals. Maybe the New York Rangers are a serious contender for the Stanley Cup this season, man. They're looking deadly this playoffs as they beat up the Carolina Hurricanes. Now maybe the Washington Capitals. St. Louis jumps up 2-0. This is a big game here for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they lose it to the Boston Bruins as now the series is tied up at 1. Philly walks away with a 2-0 lead. Same with the St. Louis Blues, of course. Dallas loses, in the Colorado Avalanche, they go up 2-0 against the Arizona Coyotes. Tampa Bay goes up 2-0 against the Canadiens. And Washington fight right back and tie up the series up at 1. Vegas Golden Knights walk away with the victory against the Winnipeg Jets. And Minnesota, they get a big victory there. As now Toronto, they get another big victory there against the Boston Bruins. And Philly, they go up 3-0. They are looking very, very deadly right now as they're just absolutely bombshelling the New York Islanders right now. As Sagan had a big game here against the Chicago Blackhawks, getting them a big victory. Colorado, they're also going up 3-0 in the series. And same with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It just seems like Montreal just cannot get a break right now. They beat up the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then they went right up against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they have struggled ever since. Vegas versus the Winnipeg Jets, game tied up at 2, or their series tied up at 2. Minnesota, they fight back up, and they tie up the series with the St. Louis Blues. Will the Boston Bruins do the same? And yes, they do. And will Philly walk on to the next round? No, the Islanders, they stay alive for one more game, as now it heads off to Chicago as they tie up the series as well. And the Colorado Avalanche, they send the Arizona Coyotes back a packing with John Chayka's quitting not too long ago. Arizona Coyotes weren't able to make it too long as Tampa Bay Lightning, they sweep also the Montreal Canadiens. Rip to those Canadiens fans, getting their hopes up making it in, and then just getting fucking demolished by Tampa Bay. Man, that's rough. Washington, they're 3-1 lead now over to Vegas versus the Winnipeg Jets. In Vegas, they walk away with a big victory, and will St. Louis be able to stop the Red Hot Wild? And no, they don't. The Wild have the St. Louis Blues on the brink of elimination, and same with the Maple Leafs putting the Boston Bruins on the brink of elimination as well as New York Islanders. They're biling back a little bit. And now we head over to Chicago as they get a big victory against the Dallas Stars. And what game was that? What game did? Oh, and the Washington Capitals also moving on to the next round as well. And now on to the Vegas Golden Knights. They beat up the Winnipeg Jets as they're going to be moving on to the next round, on to St. Louis versus the Minnesota Wild. And the Minnesota Wild has defeated the defending Stanley Cup champions as the Minnesota Wild will be making it on to the next round. Wow, what big storylines here now. As, I mean, we got to simulate this game. This is a big game to kind of watch and see as the Toronto Maple Leafs have done the impossible in overtime. Morgan Rielly burying the Boston Bruins as the Toronto Maple Leafs have moved on to the next round for the first time in forever. The New York Islanders are fighting back here against the Philadelphia Flyers. They were on the brink of elimination. They were down 3-0, and somehow the New York Islanders were able to battle back and beat the Philadelphia Flyers as they move on to the next round. And last but not least, the last game of them all, Chicago versus Dallas, as Dallas, they are moving on to the next round, and the Vegas Golden Knights as well. Colorado versus Minnesota. We got Tampa. These are not teams that are going to be facing each other because we got to reorganize it with the winning percentage, which I will do right here quickly, but I just got to do some quick math, and then we'll set up the next round and practically for the rest of the playoffs, which is very, very exciting. But before we get to that, we got to check out the stats for the first round of playoff action. Is Andres Lee. 10 points in 7 games, ripping up the playoffs. Tyler Seguin as well, ripping it up. Everyone else not doing too shabby. But it has been what a great comeback by the New York Islanders. Toronto Maple Leafs finally doing the impossible and beating the fucking the Boston Bruins. But now let's get into the next round as I'm gonna go on reorganize the standings. Alright, we're officially in the second round of playoff action, and now we can just practically let the playoffs go, because once we get to the conference finals, it won't really matter about reorganizing anyways. But we're in the big times right now. We got Colorado versus the Minnesota Wild, the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Dallas Stars, we got Tampa Bay versus the New York Islanders, and Washington Capitals versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Colorado and Minnesota Wild, they have some history. Vegas Golden Knights and Dallas, not so much. Tampa and New York, they faced a couple times. One of the biggest matchups I think we're going to be watching for is Washington versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think will be a very big matchup as Colorado, they walk away with a big victory against the Minnesota Wild and Dallas Stars. And I think you got to be beware of the Minnesota Wild right now in this simulation. They've been seeming like they've been red hot ever since the qualifying rounds, beating off the Vancouver Canucks, and then beating what was the team they faced them? Oh my god, why am I having such a brain fart now? What team did they fucking face? I felt like they faced the St. Louis Blues, the defending Stanley Cup champions. But I mean, we've seen it before, where we've seen like teams where they can do one round and then they kind of fall, which is kind of what it's looking like right now. As Colorado has Wild up 2, Dallas has Vegas Golden Knights up on 2, and Tampa Bay as well. As it looks like all the teams are really dominating. Toronto, they're even Steven now. But we see Minnesota Wild fight back as they're now down 3-0. That is not a good position for them to be in. Dallas Stars also putting themselves up 3-0 as well. This is looking very rough for a lot of those teams as New York was able to fight back. Toronto also taking the series lead, and will the Colorado Avalanche beat the Minnesota Wild here in game 4 as the Minnesota Wild, they fight back. Eric Stahl getting some big goals there. Stahl, Koivu, and Parise, all their big veterans there in the Minnesota getting some big goals. As now we head down to Vegas as Dallas, they head on to the next round, defeating the Vegas Golden Knights as the Vegas Golden Knights lose in the second round this year. After an upsetting year last year, they get beat by the Dallas Stars this year. Now on to the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the, versus the New York Islanders. As Tampa Bay, they walk away with a victory as Steven Stamkos getting the big game-winning goal, giving themselves a 3-1 lead. Now, I didn't mean to do that again. Toronto versus Washington as they fight back and they tie up the series 2-2. That is a even Steven series between those two teams right now. Colorado versus the Minnesota Wild. Will Minnesota will fight back? No. It will be Colorado versus the Dallas Stars in the conference finals. And now Tampa Bay versus the New York Islanders. Will Tampa Bay move on to the next round? Yes, they do. Now we just got Toronto versus Washington as Washington walks away with a big victory. The 3-2 lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the final game for Toronto, and yes, it is. The Toronto Maple Leafs were once again eliminated, this time in the second round. Big expectations, but they fall short. This time, at least they got out of the first round. I would take that as an achievement for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But now we got Colorado versus the Dallas Stars, and Tampa Bay versus the Washington Capitals. And man, Tampa Bay's back here, man. This Tampa Bay team could possibly be a team that has that energy coming off of COVID, saying, hey, let's go for it, man. Let's all fucking go for that Stanley Cup this year. And I really have that feeling that they might want to do that. But let's get right into it. Big simulation here now. Colorado versus Dallas as they walk away with a Game 1 victory. We got to actually take a look at the quick stats as Jamie Benn ripping it up. 9 goals. McKinnon as well. Kadri also ripping it up with the Colorado Avalanche. Not taking too many penalties. 6. Not too bad. But the rest of the team's not looking too bad with their stats as well. But Jamie Benn being the big one right now. Tampa Bay versus the Washington Capitals. Washington walks away with a victory as Washington, they're looking for another cup here, man. They won a cup a couple years back. They had a huge party. They're looking to win it here in COVID-19 era, man. As Colorado and Washington both having their teams up by 2. Colorado now having them up by 3. Washington as well. It might be full sweeps for both teams. Colorado sweeping the Dallas Stars, and the Washington Capitals have swept the Tampa Bay Lightning. And now for the Stanley Cup playoffs, we got Colorado versus the Washington Capitals, as somehow, some way, the Washington Capitals have dragged themselves into this. And Kovalchuk, wow, he's pulling him young South out of the fucking hole. He has a chance to win his first cup. Damn, dude. Washington versus the Colorado Avalanche. This is a big one between these two teams. It was a quick fucking conference finals. It wasn't very long. First period, 2-2 for both teams. I guess not for Colorado, but Ian Cole, Tom Wilson, Kuznetsov, and Calvert. This is the Stanley Cup playoffs time, man. It is big time hockey. And second period, Oshie, Ovechkin. Third period, as the Washington Capitals, Hagelin with 2 more, walk away with the game 1 as they demolished the Colorado Avalanche in game 1. That was not a game that the Colorado Avalanche wanted to get off to, and they struggled it out the get-go. Will they be able to bounce back here in game 2? First period, 1-0, Jacob Varanen. Man, Washington's hammering in the Colorado Avalanche right now as Nate McKinnon gets one there at the end of the period. Third period, and once again, the Washington Capitals walk away with another victory, going up 2-0 in the series right now. As Kuznetsov, the cocaine master, he's going mad right now, dude. Damn, bro. As we're going to be heading on to the next game, Game 3, Washington, they're feeling red hot right now. They are feeling fucking hot as a puppy. First period, nothing in the first period. This isn't in Colorado now. They got to have some sort of momentum right now. Second period, 1-1, Kuznetsov, Nikushkin. Third period, 5-2, Ovechkin. The whole club is ripping through everybody right now. They're 11-2, bro. Damn, bruh. Washington is feeling fire right now. They only had a tough time against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Everyone else they have wiped right through, as they're going to be heading into maybe their final game. Maybe a sweep in the Stanley Cup Finals, which would be crazy. First period, 1-1, Mikko Rantanen and Karlsson. Second period, 3-1, Ovechkin with 2 huge goals for the Washington Capitals, as Ovi is looking for another cup, and that might be the possibility for the Washington Capitals. I mean, wow, what a simulation we're having, as the Washington Capitals will walk away as NHL 20 simulation champions. As will that happen in real life? I don't know. We'll have to see. But we'll jump in and watch the Washington Capitals celebrate. Watch them pull away with that Stanley Cup, that great Lord Stanley Cup, which will be absolutely amazing for the team, I think. And it's going to be a great champion. I mean, Colorado's a young team, so I'm pretty sure they'll bounce back in the Stanley Cup final or playoffs again. But it's a rough time when you make it to the Stanley Cup Finals and you have a chance to win it and you don't take it and you lose like this, how you did to the Washington Capitals with a sweep. It's kind of an embarrassing loss, man. Just saying, it's kind of an embarrassing loss to lose like this, and Washington really just played grade A hockey. They swept through the Tampa Bay Lightning, they swept through the Colorado Avalanche, which, I mean, this has not happened for a long time where a team has swept through everybody. It's just absolutely crazy what the Washington Capitals have really pulled off and how well they have played. They've been terrific, and hopefully they could carry that momentum into the next season, maybe pull it back-to-back. But, I mean, this team is practically, you could call this team a dynasty almost now, right? You won a cup in 2018, and now here in 2020, they're also champions once again. And this is all a possibility that could possibly fucking happen, where we could see the Washington Capitals honestly win the cup. Like, everyone's been saying that the Colorado Avalanche is definitely a very strong team, but what happens if they're too young? Maybe they're not prepared for a Stanley Cup Finals like maybe the Washington Capitals or the Pittsburgh Penguins are. But this is a serious candidate to be a serious championship team here. As Dylan over to Ovi, as he's carrying up the wing, as does a little dangle and wasn't able to get over. It's Graves now over to McKinnon, over to Rantanen. McKinnon back over to Burakovsky. None of the teams that actually, these were all teams that were in the round robin, actually kind of won the cup. It was none of the qualifying teams that had a chance to win, didn't win the cup. So that kind of shows you maybe that these round robin teams are feeling healthy, as the Washington Capitals with their second championship led by Braden Holtby. He was really the stellar performance, and Kuznetsov was fucking ridiculous for the Washington Capitals as they walk away with their second championship in franchise history. What a big one there for the Washington Capitals, man. That is huge for them. But congrats, man. Congrats for winning this big cup, man. That is huge for the Washington Capitals. And congrats, man. That's huge. I want to see who wins the Conn Smythe in this simulation. I know it's going to be kind of rigged because we didn't involve the qualifying rounds or the the first round there. We only involved the 3 rounds, so I guess we'll have to see who kind of pulls away with the Conn Smythe. Last time it was Ovi. It could either be Kuzi or Halpy. I'm thinking Halpy probably, because I know EA, but I know they've been changing it up a bit, and they've been trying to get more forwards win it, but it could be Evgeny Kuznetsov, honestly, that wins this Conn Smythe, because he was ridiculous in this final round for the playoffs for the Washington Capitals, as they're all shaking hands there. Nikushkin, he was big, and yeah, Kuznetsov, he won the Conn Smythe. Congrats to them, as the Washington Capitals are your official Stanley Cup champions for the predictions. Now, I don't know when this will be going up, either after or before my prediction video that I'll be making. Probably before my prediction video, but I'll be making a prediction video talking about who I think will win. And now, do I think the Washington Capitals will win the Stanley Cup? Probably not. It's a good possibility. They could definitely win it, but I don't think they're going to be winning this cup. For right now, guys, we're going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Tell me, guys, who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year with the big 24-man play or 24-team playoff. It's a huge one. I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited to watch my Oilers play some hockey again. It's going to be exciting, but for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios, amigos.